Hey everybody, welcome to the County Line. I'm here again this week with my sister, the lawyer, who is struggling with her Irish identity and demanded after my month-long St. Patrick Day dedication that she be allowed to come on and tell you what she thinks may have really happened. So we're delighted to have you here.
Thank you, Tom. I informally titled this episode, Tom Kelly, You're Not Who You Think You Are.
Are any of us, though.
Well, but that's true. But, you know, I think...
First of all, let me lay the groundwork, because some of our loyal viewers may not have seen the episode where I talked about our great-great-great-grandfather who came over to America in the 1840s and settled in Pennsylvania, and he worked on a riverboat, and he had 5 sons, 3 of which were killed in the Civil War.
According to family lore, I've never been able to find the documents to back it up, but yeah.
All right, let's just go with best we know, because we can't. There's a lot about this history that we
haven't verified yet.
And I know you're a lawyer and you're all about facts, but I think you got to have a little, when you're dealing with a great story, you got to be able to move a little bit.
You know, and it is. I mean, I had the opportunity to go to St. Clair, Pennsylvania, which, as Tom may have mentioned, you know, was the heart of the Molly Maguire. The Molly Maguires were sort of allegedly terrorists that blew up the mines. They were Irish in response to the English who ran the mines and their unfair labor practices. I was hoping to find someone in our family who'd been a member of that. I did find a Kelly who was hanged, but I couldn't make the connection. But it was really interesting, and you know, our great-grandfather, as Tom might have mentioned, was, you know, because his dad, and you know, we know this for a fact, had been gravely injured in the Civil War, never really could earn a living, and died shortly after the war. He went to work in the coal mines as a coal picker when he was about 10. Census records have verified this, and he came out of the coal mines and went on to study law and moved to Richmond. So I'm not disputing any of that. All
right, let me back up just a minute, because I think this is a critical part of this whole story. Our great-grandfather is living in Pennsylvania, and he's going to college part-time while he's working in these coal mines where he's really being exploited by
it was very dangerous work.
Dangerous, dirty, filthy, to earn, you know, next to nothing. And so he starts going to college to try to get better, and he meets a nice girl there. I guess she's a nice girl, because he marries her. And then he runs away. Suddenly, he disappears in the dark of the night and turns up in Dayton, Ohio, working at a grocery. Now, why did he leave Pennsylvania so suddenly? My theory is, because this was the exact period of time when they were rounding up the Mollies and hanging them, that he was responsible for some of those bombings and murders.
He didn't run away. He went west to find his fortune. He ran out of money. He ended
Apples
up in
and
Richmond.
oranges.
Apples and oranges. You think what you think. But anyway, you know, I think, and I found this with most people, we tend to identify our identities with, you know, our last names. You know, my husband's last name is Sierzniak. You know, he's always said, I'm Polish, even though, you know, his mom came from German ancestors. We've always said, you know, we're Kellys, we're Irish. That's a big deal. You know, it's the Irish in us. It's the Irish. And even though the nice young woman that our great-grandfather met was a gross, she was not gross, but the family was gross. They were from Germany. Yeah. And since then, there were many other, you know, we have other ancestors on the other side that came from England. And so, you know, we all had a big family gathering for St. Patrick's Day at my sister's house in Michigan last year, and I thought,
shameful.
I am tired of all this. We're Irish. We're so Irish. When I knew, in fact, we were just mutts. So I had a DNA test. Did the big reveal that day, and I was only 18% Irish. 18%. I was 55% England and Northwestern Europe, which is we're going back to my homeland in a couple weeks. Going to go to England. So but Tom disputed this. I mean, it was only science. Blah blah blah, and so he I gave him for Christmas. A DNA test from Ancestry.com, and he balked at taking it. Initially refused the gift, and I think it was out of fear that, he would find out that we're related to some obscure serial killer that police have been looking for.
I don't trust. DNA testing has been proved to be valid. What these people are doing, I don't know. How the hell do you know? There's nobody regulates this.
Okay, that being said,
it's like the ingredients on a label at the grocery. You don't know what's going on here.
So Tom, he gets his results. He's 16. He's only 16% Irish. He's less Irish than me. Guess what? Tommy Kelly, as I like to call him, is 30% Scottish. He refuses to, adopt and embrace his Scottish ancestry. Even though I want to say you can't see this, but he is wearing a kilt.
Look,
as we are taping
we
this.
grew up in a house.
Or is that just a skirt you're wearing?
We grew up in a house where our mother played Irish folk songs on the piano.
Okay, first of all, she had no ancestors who were Irish.
But nonetheless, she played Irish folk songs on the piano. Our dad told wonderful stories about the Irish neighborhood in Richmond and his Irish friends and his Catholic church. And St. Patrick's Day was a big deal at our house.
His best friend was Jewish. So
who was Jewish?
Wasn't Sammy Kitchen Jewish? Well, anyway.
I thought he was black.
No.
Anyway, so yeah, the DNA test, let me tell you about this. And I mentioned this in my St. Patrick's Day thing as Libby was renouncing her Irish heritage and insisting that I do the same. Before I even took this DNA test, I applied to the most Irish organization in America, the Ancient Order of Hibernians. Now, there's only 3 requirements you have to fulfill to get into this, and one of them is you have to prove you're a descendant of Irish heritage. You have to do that. And this is my membership card. I got it in the mail just the other day. I'm a member in good standing. I'm even mentioned in the newsletter on page 9 as a new member.
Page 9, so that's how...
Well, that's where they announce new members. You can look it up if you want. But that proves it right there. I mean, if the Hibernians, which means Irishmen, will accept me as a member in good standing, I think that trumps your whatever you got going on.
And our great-grandfather was, incidentally, the state president of the Ancient Order of Hibernians.
Yeah, that's a cool story. When I made application, they're like, okay, there was a bunch of other questions about my Catholic parish and what I was doing there and where I came from and who. So when they tell me, okay, you're in, they also send me a newspaper clipping from, what was it, 1908 maybe?
Yeah, I think 1908, 1909.
From the Indianapolis Star, no, the Richmond Palladium Item, a newspaper in Richmond, announcing that my great-grandfather was going to be making a speech on the Notre Dame campus because he was running for re-election as president of this organization. So I'm a legacy like that guy in Animal House, Flounder, who borrowed his brother's car and trashed it while they were on a road trip.
That's right, they let you in because they had to. And I can't. I said, I can't join because, I'm not Catholic and I'm also a woman. Even though I am, again, as I've said, more Irish than my brother. Now, I want to say one thing, that why Tom disputes this. He doesn't understand, even though I've explained it to him multiple times, how siblings can have such different DNA results. When it's clear that
You should be wearing a white coat right now, you know
well,
what?
no, I know it. But I mean, and I've explained it to him, and finally, I just basically showed him this picture, which I'm showing this for the viewers, but for those that are listening, it's a picture.
For those of you at home.
It's a picture of my mom and her twin sister when they were in high school, back then. Great glamour shot, Angora sweaters, pearls, backlighting. And my mom was blonde, fair-skinned, blue-eyed. Her twin sister had olive skin, almost black hair, and the darkest eyes, darkest brown eyes, I've ever seen. And they were twins. Yeah. I mean, even though I want to do further testing to find out if there was any switching at birth for this unusual difference. But
it is suspicious.
But I mean, that explains, there's actually Ancestry DNA has a story posted on their website about a woman who decided, she had three sisters, and they're all of Irish descent, and she decided to get tests for all of them because she was sure she was the most Irish of all of them. So, after the test, she found out she was only 2% Irish, and her sisters, who in her view, exhibited less Irish traits.
I hope Sue Peters doesn't see this.
But I want to tell you this, Tom. Why don't you embrace your Scottish heritage? I mean, you could celebrate Bobby Burns Day. You could eat that awful stuff that's made out of cow stomachs that they eat. I mean,
what kind of identity? Now, I don't mean this to offend
you can
anybody, and it
wear
probably
kilts
will.
and knee socks in public.
I can in today's world, I can wear whatever I want. I can I can borrow a skirt from Teresa and wear it to the grocery right now if I wanted to, but I won't.
No, but I'm just
my
saying.
point is. And I made this point in March, being Irish is a state of mind. It really has absolutely nothing to do with where you're from or who your kin are or any of that. It helps, but as I pointed out back in March, some of the best Irishmen I know have names like Keller and Shockney and Brown, and they're the people who, years ago, this is how I got really tuned on to St. Patrick's Day. They would they were all Catholic. They'd meet at St. Patrick's for the morning mass. Then they'd go to Miller's Tavern, which opened early on St. Patrick's Day in honor of the saint. And they'd stay there until it was time to go to the Knights of Columbus and have dinner. And in those days, the priest at St. Patrick's would allow, instead of a recessional hymn, which is very traditional, the principal of the school would sing, "When Irish Eyes Are Smiling." Now, what is more Irish than all that? And it's just a state of mind. You don't have to have green blood to make that work. You just have to have a shamrock somewhere and be willing to drown it.
I have not rejected my Irish heritage.
It was disgraceful what you did on St. Patrick's Day.
35 years ago when I got married.
If our father had, and he probably did, I mean, he was probably watching. You're right, we were at our sister's house, and you wore this nice Irish shirt, very nice. It was very misleading, and then you announced, I'm not really Irish, I'm mostly English. And I had to throw up.
No, I still, I'm very proud of the Kelly name, even though I, in a fit of thinking it was the right thing to do, when I got married, changed my name to Searsniak, which I found out later my husband won't even use to order pizza because it's so hard to spell and pronounce. But I embrace being a Kelly, but I also embrace all these other nationalities that, our other grandparents came from. And, Tom, you are 7% Scandinavian. Sven You are, I mean, that is something.
I guess that's the beauty of America, isn't it?
That's right.
You look at something like that and you realize that we're just one big world and we're all part of it.
No, and it's true. But I do think, again, people tend to focus on their paternal lineage because that's the name they're born with, and ignoring, where was your grandma from? Where was your grandparents on your mom's side from? And those stories are equally compelling.
So this is basically a feminist issue.
It is not a feminist issue. I just, I mean, I think on our mom's side of the family, the Kellys weren't here for the American Revolution, but on our mom's side of the family, we have people that, could trace all the way back to the Revolutionary War. And actually, I think a great aunt who qualified for being in the Daughters of the American Revolution, and that's...
Well, that's very interesting, but I think having a great-grandfather who was a Molly Maguire trumps all that.
In your imagination. And so, again, I think that I don't understand why, I mean, Scotland, that's just very cool. I don't understand why you are more you're 16% Irish and 30% Scottish. I mean, embrace that culture.
You remember our daughter Annie had a foreign exchange student from Scotland a few years ago, and every time she was around here, which was quite often, I guess, I find myself talking like Sean Connery. Do you think there's some connection?
I think absolutely. I mean, I think we need to explore that further and find out if we are indeed related to, I think isn't it Sir Sean Connery? So,
do you have any closing remarks for my audience?
No, other than this has been a lot of fun. I want to make clear that I was not paid to appear today, but Tom did promise me if I drove all the way to Burlington, he would take me to dinner tonight. So I'm looking forward to that.
We're probably going to the boathouse over in Burlington, and when I suggested this to Libby, what was her question?
Where are the boats? Where's the body of water? I mean, it's not even on the Wildcat Creek.
It's not even a question I can answer.
I don't understand it. So we're hoping
it's just one of those weird little things about a weird little town, but we love it.
A boathouse in a city with no water. So, except again, I'm not dissing the Wildcat Creek.
Yeah, Libby, I really appreciate you coming. I would have rather had Addie here, but our granddaughter, but since she couldn't make it, I appreciate you filling in, and we hope to have you back. We're lucky to have Libby, by the way, because she does a lot of high-profile, historic programs for really important radio stations and TV shows, and
he's overselling it a
on
bit.
Movies and the whole bit. I mean, she's an author. She does a lot of writing and research, and she claims that it's accurate. I haven't ever taken the time to try and pin
to read anything I've written, and and Tom, I have to say this, since he's been retired, and he retired a few years before me. He's written 3 books. I've written none. So not that I'm competitive with him or anything, and I'm not going to become Catholic to join the AOH and become a man either.
That's too bad.
I know. It's just not that. It's just not in the cards for me.
We're sorry. There's always a place for you.
Okay.
All right, everybody. That's it for today. Our producer's signaling us that we've got to go to an oatmeal commercial, so we'll see you next week. We're going to talk about Memorial Day. God bless.